My Jackson Coues is 7 years old and the utility track here on the back is rusted out. I've got to replace it, and let me show you a trick about that. I just can't believe that this aluminum utility track has eroded over the last 7 years to where it just fell off. Now, a couple tips here on how to replace it. The first is, do not buy any utility track that has the word Kayak associated with it. You're going to pay extra. Instead, get Woodworker T-Track, which is exactly the same thing and is a lot less expensive. This blue stuff is also aluminum. Now, the next decision you've got to make is how are you going to attach this to your kayak? And you can't use rivets, because, at least mine, because my rivet gun will not fit between the rails here to get a flush fit. And basically you've got two options. Well, remember, rivets is out. So you can use well nuts like this, or you can use jack nuts. And the reason I'm choosing to use jack nuts instead of well nuts is look at the top of the well nut there. It has a small rubber gasket, and when this track sits on top of it, it's not going to be exactly flush with the surface of my kayak. And that's important to me on this particular track because I run my mount for my kayak trolling motor between the rear two utility tracks. So I'm going to use a jack nut for this instead. And let me show you what the difference is real quick. To simulate the thickness of my kayak, I've got this cutting board, and on the back, I've mounted the well nuts over here and the jack nuts over here. And you can just look at that and tell that the jack nuts are going to give me a much better connection than the well nuts. The part of the well nut that braces up against the surface of the cutting board is a lot less than the jack nuts. And I'm betting that these well nuts would pull off under stress of a heavy kayak trolling motor. Now, the thing about jack nuts is they're easiest to install if you get a very inexpensive installation kit. But I have seen YouTube videos that talk about other ways to do that without the expense. Here's what the jack nut installation kit looks like. It's basically, here's the jack nut. It's basically a long screw, and you're going to screw it through, hold this part with a wrench, and the screw is going to cause the jack nut to collapse. So let me get that going on the real thing. I'll put the 3 jack nuts in the holes, and now it's just a matter of getting this thing going. And then I will screw the utility track in with, in this case, M5 screws for extra strength. Once you feel it's tight, you unscrew, and that's in there nice and tight. I'll be able to put my utility track on and then screw the final screw in. Let me get the other 2 set up. A couple screws go in, all done, and you can see from this T-bolt that I've got plenty of room to slide any accessory I mount on this around. And there's absolutely no wobble in this utility track like there would be if I were using a well nut with that rubber gasket on the top of the surface of my kayak.